Welcome, new and returning listeners, to today's episode of the Black Business Roundtable. I am your host, Doug Blacksher, broadcasting to you live from the city of Diversity, Oakland, California. Today is our first show returning after our spring break, and our last show featured the magnificent author Rex Pickett that wrote the critically acclaimed novel Sideways, that was made into a movie starring Paul Giamatti, Thomas Hayden Church, Virginia Madsen, and Sandra Oh. Our special guest host was Dr. Kaia Niambi Shivers, founder and editor of Arc Republic. She is a noted professor at New York University, NYU, who specializes in writing and media studies. In addition, Barack Obama Shaw stopped by on that afternoon. A very special shout out to my sister, my friend, and my colleague. And we miss you. Longtime co-host that keeps me vibing like no other, and our mental health consultant guru. I saved that introduction, of course, for my co-host, Dr. Ashley Coleman, Doctor of Psychology. My sister, we miss you. We look forward to seeing you back for our upcoming anniversary show. Stay tuned for the exact date. So let's get started, Black Business Roundtable family, with a little format change today. So hold on tight. Our sincere thank you, as always, to Mr. Donnie Glover of BlackUSA.News for the honor of the Black Business Roundtable being a part of your growing network, dedicated, and that I'm going to emphasize, dedicated to bringing the real, unfiltered news before the news in Black America. Hashtag BlackUSA.News, hashtag Donnie Glover, YouTube/Donnie Glover. Audience, I have been busy during our spring break, but I've also been relaxing too, doing my own little sabbatical, and also taking a little time for me. We've been running the show for going on 2 years this month, and we rarely miss or take time off. You know me, I have been eating some good food. Michonne is getting ready to open up that great restaurant up there on the Fruitville District in Oakland, California. And I went by and took a look at it. It's going to be an awesome place for gatherings, community functions, etc. So be sure, Willows and Pine in the Fruitville District between MacArthur and Fruitville. Let's get started, audience. Looking at some good drinking of wine and other liberation, reading and following the happenings, and staying active on our social media. I want to be sure that although Dr. Ashley is on sabbatical, we continue to stress the importance of me time for everyone, children and adults. If you are feeling suicidal, having anxiety attacks, depression, and thinking of taking your life, please call 988. Once again, if you are having anxiety attacks, depressed, feeling suicidal, wanting to take your life, call 988 is the Suicide and Crisis Hotline, Lifeline, and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can text and you can chat. Get the help that you need. As I said from day one, if you have a broken leg, you'd go see a medical doctor. If you had a cavity that was causing you pain, making your face swell up, you'd go see a dentist. When you are feeling suicidal, you're having anxiety attacks, you're depressed, you have a splinter in your brain, please go see a doctor of psychology. And once again, that number is 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Text or chat. Women in our audience looking for a therapist, please go to website therapyforblackgirls.com. And men in our audience looking for a therapist, go to website therapy for, and that's FOR, blackmen.org. And once again, women, therapy for, and that's FOR, blackgirls.com. Don't sit there and agonize alone. Reach out for help. The Black Business Roundtable update. Oh, Lord have mercy. On May 16, 2023, Mayor Shane Tao of Oakland, California, reappointed me, Doug Blacksher, to the Community Policing Advisory Board, which meets the first Wednesday of each month. Thank you, Mayor Shane Tao. I will be sure to represent the city, the mayor's office, and the residents and businesses who live here in Oakland and address the rising crime that has plagued this city over the last 6 months. The Community Policing Advisory Board meets with police rank and file, as well as residents and business owners once a month to talk about and identify crime fighting techniques, how to make this city safer. We have a group of people who have been selected by council members and by the mayor's office, yours truly. So we're eager to get started and grapple this high crime and theft and chaos that is destroying Oakland, California. I'm eager to get started, and I will update you on our progress. Upcoming, as of May 25th, tomorrow, I will be out flying. Tomorrow I'll be flying out to Los Angeles, California, at the J.W. Merritt in L.A. for the California Democratic Party Convention. Who is attending? California Democratic leaders, including Governor Gavin Newsom, Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi, 2023-2025 Democratic State Central Committee delegates, and California Democrat Party activists and organizers. I look forward to fighting. Yes, I look forward to fighting to make California a better state, and I look forward to coming back on Sunday and having a full report ready for you on Thursday. Briefly, what we will be talking about: Black reparation, Black businesses, Black power, housing for Black people, and funding for first-time homeowners, amongst a host of other legislation bills that want our support. Yes, our support, because thanks to Madam Pamela Price, the first African-American female woman to be district attorney in the county of Alameda. And I've been her alternate delegate since 2017. So thank you, Pamela, for having faith in me to carry on the torch for social justice, political power, and increasing opportunities for Black people in Oakland Alameda County and in the state of California and in this country, United States of America. Also, the Oakland East Bay Democratic Club meets the first Saturday of each month at 10 a.m., of which I am a member of also. The next meeting will be June 3rd, 2023. The purpose of the Oakland East Bay Democratic Club, well, let me back up a little bit. First off, the Oakland East Bay Democratic Club is the oldest Democratic club with a high percentage of Black people fighting for Black people, Black businesses, Black home ownership, Black politics. What we do in a nutshell is make sure that we fight for elected officials. The Oakland East Bay Democratic Club has been revised over the last 4 to 5 years to strengthen itself. We have almost more delegates than any other club in the county of Alameda serving on the Alameda County Democratic Central Committee. And that was a carefully constructed plan by all the members of our Oakland East Bay Democratic Club. So I want to give a shout out to all those who are participating, who are fighting for equality and business opportunity, home ownership, getting Black politicians in office, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I've been a member for 7 years. I will continue to serve on the Oakland East Bay Democratic Club, fighting for the rights of our people. A few shout outs. The Honorable Councilperson Janani Ramachandran, District 4, the Honorable Council Member Kevin Jenkins, the Honorable Council Member Carol Fife, all three from Oakland, California. Madam DA, District Attorney, first African-American woman in the history of Alameda County to be the District Attorney, Madam Pamela Price. The Honorable Brooke Jenkins, District Attorney of San Francisco. And yes, I had dinner with a group of people which included Brooke Jenkins. Let me tell you, she is an awesome person. I enjoy her company, and breaking bread with her and her husband out in Napa Valley, having an awesome time with friends and fellowshipping with colleagues and friends. So Brooke Jenkins, if you're watching, hello, had a great time. Also, the Honorable Diane Becton, DA of Contra Costa County. The last three persons that I read off are African-American women who are the only African-American women in the district attorney, running the district attorney in the state of California. So congratulations, Northern California. We are fighting. We are fighting to make sure we have political representation to change social justice for all people, including Black people. And last, but definitely not least, we have Creighton Davis, Esquire, and one of the founders of Kinfolks, a new spot for art, wine, and great conversations in Oakland, California, and many others that we'll be talking about in the weeks and months to come. So as you all can see here in Oakland, Alameda County, and all across this nation, we are making a difference in Northern California, the Bay Area, and fighting to get Black men and women elected. Because remember, if you are not at the table, you are on the menu. To that end, this week's Black Business Roundtable thumbs up goes to the Biden administration on trying to shore up the United States and our financial standings in regards to the debt ceiling and being able to pay the government bills. Your tax refunds are included in that too. Hashtag POTUS, hashtag VP, hashtag House Democrats. This week's Black Business Roundtable thumbs down goes to dun 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 dun. Who made the Black Business Roundtable Naughty List 2023? The Republicans. Yes, the Republicans. Ought to be ashamed of yourself. Republicans putting America in danger of financial default, which would be catastrophic for Republicans, your own, Democrats, independents, and all our finances would take a hit. Hashtag Speaker McCarthy, hashtag House GOP, hashtag House _ Republican, hashtag WA House Republicans, hashtag perjury Marjorie Taylor Greene. I love that one. Don't receive the thumbs down in hashtag the town, Oakland, California. You are welcome to come and talk with us about it and make it right. Hashtag BBRT Naughty List, hashtag BBRT Naughty List 2023. Today's show highlights. Joining us today, Victory's Corner, Allyssa Victory, Esquire, civil rights, legal guru, and community activist. I'll be seeing her tomorrow in LA at the convention. I had a conversation with her, and I look forward to working and fighting for the people of Oakland, Alameda County, and the state of California. Black people, make sure that we get a share of the American pie. And the second hour, we will have our returning guest, Mr. Marcus Flowers of Georgia, my friend, founder and chairman of the new organization, Mission Democracy. You may recall Mr. Flowers from the 2022 election as he was out fundraising perjury Marjorie Taylor Greene. So let's get started right here on the Black Business Roundtable, May 25th, 2023 edition. So today's show guests, Therapeutic Thursday, will return soon with Dr. Ashley Coleman, Doctor of Psychology, as I can't wait. Woosah. Looking for you, Dr. Ashley. Victory's Corner with our friend of the show, Allyssa Victory Esquire, a civil rights leader, educator, and licensed attorney serving across the Bay Area and the state of California. Website Victory4, and that's FOR, Oakland, .wordpress.com / on Instagram at Victory4, and that's FOR, Oakland. Hashtag Victory4, and that's FOR, Oakland. And last, but definitely not least, my friend Marcus Flowers, founder and chairman of MissionDemocracy.org, former congressional candidate for Georgia's 14th Congressional District. His website is missiondemocracy.org / team. Instagram, Miss in Democracy, and that's Miss capital N Democracy. Hashtag Miss capital N Democracy. Now, for the national political highlights, let's dive right into this, folks. Senator Dianne Feinstein, 89 years old, has been facing health issues, have had sidelined her, understandably so. When I seen her, she looked frail. I'm not saying she can't do the job, but she looked frail. Who shall California and the Black Business Roundtable family give their support to in the upcoming election now that Honorable Congresswoman Barbara Lee, Honorable Congresswoman Katie Porter, and Katie Porter with her white chalkboard. I don't know if you all remember, she was schooling her colleagues with a chalkboard like she took them back to kindergarten or first grade, teaching them how to add and subtract. And last, but definitely not least, Adam Schiff have thrown their hats into the race. We are going to have an interesting race. So let's get to, we are all off to the races. And now for the news of the day. On this day, May 25th, 1943, white workers riot. What? White workers riot after black workers promoted in Mobile, Alabama. Lord have mercy. Know your history so we don't repeat history. Courtesy of EJI, Equal Justice Initiative. We look forward for you all to follow up on Equal Just Initiative website, eji.org, for more information and to read the full story of this day in our Black and Brown history. Folks, let's be clear. We have to fight for the right to have equality, diversity, inclusion in our government, in our private sector, in purchasing homes, owning businesses, contracting opportunities, and that we'll be discussing later in the show with Allyssa Victory. So, oh, I see she just arrived. Oh my goodness, because audience, let's be clear. I've had time to regroup. I've had time to rejuvenate. I'm preparing for this magnificent trip down to LA where I'm going to have lunch or dinner with my friend Allyssa Victory. So let's dive right into it today, folks. I'm going to read Victory Corner, Allyssa Victory Esquire's bio. And I've done it before, and I will continue to do it because these are the type of young people that we need to have leading this country into the next generation of equality, diversity, inclusion. So let's get right in. Allyssa Victory Esquire, a civil rights leader, educator, licensed attorney, serving across the Bay Area and the state of California. Allyssa holds a BA with honors, in ethnic studies and a minor in Black studies, as well as JD, concentrated in government law. Allyssa currently practices in policing and labor law and is an elected ADEM 18 delegate to the California Democratic Party for Assembly District 18. Allyssa recently won another term for ADEM 18. Audience, let's welcome back Allyssa Victory Esquire and her segment, Victory's Corner.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
My sister. Oh, your mic.
Can you hear me okay? I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
We're having a little check your volume now. We're having a little problems hearing you. Oh, I guess I'm the only one that can't hear. Oh, that's why I can't hear you. Wait a minute. It's my fault, Allyssa.
Can you hear me?
Girl, it was all me. Let me tell you something. If it wasn't for my back my producer, I would be probably doing work on a rock and carving notes and stuff. So I had the volume down, audience. That's my bad. What's
All
going
good.
on, my
Just
sister?
didn't want to have a repeat because I know last time I was joining remote and had a lot of just issues with my service. So wanted to make sure y'all could hear me and see me this time. But I'm great. I'm happy to be back. It is closing out May and we're getting right into summer. So this year is going by kind of fast, but always happy to have discussion with you and talk to the folks from Victory's Corner.
Well, audience, let's be clear here before we get into our discussion today, because I want Allyssa to have all 40 minutes to tell us, because I got some great questions for you today, my sister.
Okay.
And I look forward to having lunch or dinner with you while we're down in LA fighting for the rights of all people, specifically Black people. As we know, we've had 400 years of lack of economics, lack of housing opportunities, lack of business ownership. We just a lack of people, and people like you are going to fight for us. And I'm going to be reporting it daily, weekly, monthly, because audience, we don't have enough Black representation in the political process in America. And
Absolutely.
Lisa, let me tell you something. It costs to be a part of the political process. It costs to engage in the fight for the right to be considered a full human. And I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to turn it over to you. United States of America, you ought to be shaming yourself for not changing the law that we are only 3/5 of a human being in the Constitution. Am I correct?
It's a little more nuanced, but essentially that's when we first started having any representation. They didn't want to give us our full representation in the population. So they said, no, we're just going to count Black people as 3/5 because they knew we were so numerous at the time that they were talking about should we count as people and be counted for the purpose of legislatures and folks that could sit on those seats. They didn't want too many folks to come and represent us. So they said, no, we want to make sure they have less representatives. So let's make them less than full people.
Audience, now you see why we have a Victory's Corner here, because when I speak it, I know this powerful civil rights leader is going to validate it and correct me if I'm wrong. Thank you, Allyssa. It's good to see you, sister. How you doing today?
I'm pretty good. Like you said, we're heading down to LA for this annual convention. It's going to be a lot that I'm expecting that's going to happen, but I am excited to connect with people like you in person and with fellow Democrats across the state to talk about what needs to be done to continue to move us forward, to move our democracy forward.
Well, let's dive right into it. California Democratic State Convention 2023 is over this Memorial Day weekend at the JW Marriott. I hear that's a fine place to be. LA, Los Angeles Convention Center. What is the purpose? Thank you.
Well, the Democratic Party, right? So a lot of people can register under whatever political party you want, but this party works year-round, 365 days on different projects, on engaging the different leaders. And so this convention is like our annual conference where all of the members, all of the electeds come together in one place for a weekend that's filled with trainings, educational events, networking for sure. There's going to be a lot of candidates there trying to push their campaigns forward and get support and money and endorsements. But there's also a lot of party business. The most critical things that happen are that delegates like my on who should lead the party. So the party itself has officers that are elected, a chair, vice chair, secretary, treasurer. And we get to decide who is supposed to be that leadership. There's so many different groups within this party, including Young Democrats, different caucuses, councils, committees. And this is a place where you can meet with all those groups, get involved and join those groups, run for leadership in all those different factions, and connect to people statewide. This is my second term as an elected delegate. And so I'm really excited to go into this convention as a re-elected person. This is my first time serving on the e-board. So again, the convention is really just our conference that we have every year where we do party business.
What's the e-board so that our audience know?
E-board is the executive board of the Democratic Party. It includes a lot of our statewide elected officers. And again, there's elected delegates for each assembly district. There were 12 in my ADEMS election. There are even more for County Central Committee, but I was the top vote getter. And so I am the one elected ADEM delegate to our executive board. And there is one for every one of the 58 assembly districts. There are 80 assembly districts in our state. So I get to do extra meetings and talk even more at a higher level with the folks deciding every day around our budget, our policies, our rules, our programs. So that will be a separate meeting where executive board meets later in the year. But again, this convention is for all the delegates, all the members, and it's even open to the public. I want to be very clear. I started going to Democratic conventions, having no elected position, no registration. If it was in my area, I might just go in and visit a caucus. I might go listen to some of the candidate speeches. I might go network with some of the candidates that I wanted to meet and talk to directly. And so if you're in LA this weekend, feel free to come and check out the convention and any part of it.
What is your role as an elected delegate? And I mean, be specific. The audience, look at this young lady. She looked like she's 15 years old.
Stop. Thank you. Black don't crack.
Well, what is your role as an elected delegate, a young elected delegate at the California Democratic State Convention? And the more important question, how many people look like you and me are going to be, and you can't give a number, but the years that I have went down there are not a lot of people who look like us. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Again, I'm elected delegates, and there are delegates elected throughout the entire state. There's delegates who might be through your county central committee, delegates through your assembly district. There's even appointed delegates that our assembly members and other electeds get to select themselves. All the delegates, including myself, get to vote in those critical elections. We get to vote on policy changes, the platform of the party. And again, we can also get engaged and do leadership or vote on caucuses or committees. There's also the California Young Democrats, which has a structure that parallels the regular Democrats, and they're having their own convention the exact same weekend. And so being a delegate means that I'm absolutely going to vote and represent my assembly district and who I think is going to serve the party the best and who is going to serve the needs of our district the best. But I'm also there to network, to collaborate, to understand how better to improve our democracy from inside the party, but also how to get all of our resources out and into all the people that look like us who are not participating in this party. Again, it's kind of costly, right? I have to take time. I have to spend my own money to pay dues to this party, to pay registration, to travel down to this convention that is not accessible and close to my area, where I couldn't just get on the bus or the BART to go. And so there are real barriers to everybody being able to participate, even if they are elected and serve on this body. But less than 1% of all elected delegates statewide are Black. And I've highlighted this.
Wait. Run that number again, because I've said this and I'll keep saying it, audience. If we are not sitting at the table, we are on the menu. So what's the number percentage again?
Less than 1% of all the elected delegates statewide to the Democratic Party are Black. Now, I've highlighted this since I first ran back in 2021. I partnered with the Black Caucus of the Democratic Party because they are one of the smaller caucuses. They also track what numbers of Black candidates are running in any election, and they helped give us support to just amplify that statistic, amplify that message. They helped support Black delegates running in all of the assembly districts 2 years ago. And I was very clear that I ran with a slate of 11 other folks that are all elected with me. They're all first-time delegates and very new. Many of them, this is their first convention they're ever attending. And my slate was majority Black identified delegates and majority Black men delegates, because we can talk even about the gender breakdown in the Black folks that are active in our party. And so we can't have democracy if it's not reflecting the actual members of the party, if it's not reflecting our state, and certainly not reflecting the needs of who is less represented and who has some of the greatest needs. We live in a democratic city in Oakland, and we know we have extreme disparities in needs that are affecting Black people at the bottom. And it's been that way for decades, for my whole life and beyond. And so, again, a part of going to this convention is critical to connect with the Black Caucus, with other delegates, with other leaders that understand our party is not fully representative, is not fully inclusive or accessible. There's things, again, they can change internally to improve our democracy, and there's resources we can take outside of the party back into our communities, back into this assembly district, into our county, that can improve our people and improve our democracy and their engagement.
You know, I have to interject and put this in before we go to the next question. Audience, back in 2017, when I had the honor of working then with Pamela Price, now Madam Pamela Price, who lost her first election, but came back and won the second time. Remember that.
Yes, everybody watching, remember that.
Yeah, remember that. But to that point, they gave her, the Alameda County Democratic Central Committee, yes, gave her one hell of a time. I had to stand up several times and said, allow this woman to speak. Quit shutting her out. We had to fight for a Black woman in the Alameda County Democratic Central Committee monthly meeting. Even now, the fight is still on. I was the only or one of two Black men who was on the Alameda County Democratic Central Committee. To this day, we are getting more people. That's how I met Kalima Pryforce. He came in and they looked at him like he was trying to rob the place. And now he's elected. As I'm telling you, girl, I couldn't believe. I went over to the brother and I said, "Hey, man, how you doing?" He was like, "Hey," I said, "Come on in." And I don't know if he. I'm sorry. What you say?
I said, yeah, he's been attending in person, right? That's the whole point. We're getting more people elected, more people who look like us. It's going to start to change the makeup of rooms. It's going to start to bring in new people who some of these folks who've been there forever have never met, have never seen, and that's okay, right? You shouldn't be hostile or try to shut people out. The whole point of having democratic parties is to include people. Is to educate people, is to uplift people's leadership in politics. So yes, thank you for your leadership, Doug, in our local party and working with our DA Price. And I will highlight that DA Price is also an elected delegate. She is a county delegate for Central Committee. She was elected years before she got elected to her DA seat. And I hope that she will also be attending convention.
She'll be down there. I had a conversation with her. She'll definitely be down there. But audience, you heard it here on the Black Business Roundtable, Victory's Corner. We have less than 1% Black African American membership in the California Democratic Party. And I'm going to say this before I ask the next question. If we are not sitting at the table, we are on the menu. Remember that. Remember that. Remember that. What, Allyssa, what can first-time attendees expect, and what are you most looking forward to at the California Democratic State Convention 2023 in Los Angeles. As in addition to fighting for our rights, we're gonna have we might have to do a little party time too down there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think first time attendees can expect a lot of people, a lot of candidates, a lot of volunteers, a lot of people giving you bags of flyers, just a lot of politics, right? It's like its own world. People follow some politicians like celebrities. So it's going to be just an entire convention filled with people like that. Folks who want to talk to you about elections, about registering to vote, about all of the different propositions and ballot measures. And so it's a great place for you to just absorb and soak up all the knowledge, all the experience and expertise in the room. Again, almost all of our elected officials across the state are going to be in one place for the weekend. So it's a great time to meet your assembly members, to meet your senators, to meet our Secretary of State, to meet our U.S. senators, to meet our Congress people, to meet our Attorney General. They're all going to be there. They're all going to be giving speeches or hosting different events that you can come and meet them. I would also say, expect for people to try to really engage you on what is most important to you. Why are you there? Again, there's going to be so many new faces, especially since pandemic has limited our ability to meet in person. So hopefully there's just a lot of positive energy of people reconnecting again, people building stronger connections than we've been able to online. And I'm most excited to see everybody in person, to see my fellow delegates that I was elected with, to see people from my assembly district and my county. I've also have been putting on monthly trainings for delegates statewide with fellow executive board members and with members of the Progressive Caucus. So I've met new people just in the last few months who've attended our trainings. I've met caucus chairs and other party leaders that I'm really excited to, again, just connect and meet with them in person, talk to them more, and keep that relationship and that momentum going, because this convention actually marks the end of my first term and the start of my new term that I was elected to. So this is the beginning of delegates' terms who were elected in the January ADEMS race. So this is a big moment of kind of introduction of what the party's goals and commitments are this year. And I'm expecting a lot, because we have, kind of as you just said, if we're not at the table or on the menu, we've been talking about reparations statewide from our Democratic leaders. And we've had proposals now, and we're hearing initial reactions from our governor, Gavin Newsom, is, I'm not going to cut the check. It's more than money, so y'all don't need money. And that's really disheartening when we've been going at this for over a year. As you said, over 400 years of subjugation and exclusion. And to see our Democratic leaders now saying, well, y'all don't actually need that. This isn't actually the way to go. And these are non-Black Democratic leaders, to be clear.
Well, let's be clear, audience. Let's be clear. America's richest country in the world on the backs of Blacks. Remember, America became the richest country in the world on the backs of Blacks. You can remember that. Moving forward, Black government contractor disparity. What exactly is it? And I'm going to give you that because I know you're going to light it up on that one.
So we've been talking, let's keep it going. 400 years, right? Subjugation. America's built on the backs of Black folks, enslaved folks, even immigrant populations that have been brought in and paid no wages, slave wages, to build this country. All right. Now that things are built, have been established, now that we've put in rules and monetized them, Black people, Black businesses, Black contractors are often told we can't build, we can't get this contract, we can't get this money. And I'm talking specifically about government contracts, right? Contracting is often just, I can enter a contract with whoever I want. But our government, those are government dollars. That's usually public money. They're usually on public property. They're usually trying to build out some public service, public housing, public transit, right? So in the government arena, the government should be ensuring that there's equal opportunity, that there is reparative policy if they know they excluded several folks from certain communities, including Black contractors, for decades, if not centuries. And if that is what's truly required to even build a future of economic justice, right? Again, if we have businesses, but nobody's hiring us, nobody will give us contracts, they won't give us the work, then the businesses are going to struggle to thrive, struggle to sustain, are not going to be able to hire as many workers, right? And continue to build out any legacy with that. So overall, there's a problem with disparity, with the majority of government contracts going to white-owned contractors, with there being a lot of barriers to even us asking, like, can you consider having more Black contractors? And I'll have to say, no, we can't do anything. Our hands are tied by affirmative action. But we've seen all types of policies that were designed to support businesses to avoid harm, even things like payroll protection during pandemic that was given out as loans and then completely forgiven. Understanding there are businesses that would struggle, that would close if they weren't able to stay open during pandemic regulations. There's so many other models where our government has given out contracts, has given out support to businesses, and in every one of those instances, Black businesses are left out in the cold, are some of the last to receive, are some of the first to have to close and shutter. And with government contracts, especially in Oakland and Alameda County, it's a documented problem. We have numerous studies that have shown us that our government is giving majority of our public dollars, public contracts to white-owned firms and nobody else. Not API, not Latino, not women-owned firms, nobody else, but certainly Black contractors are falling at the bottom.
Let me expand on that, audience, off of Allyssa Victory. Oakland spends $500 million on government contracts. 86 cents out of every dollar goes to white male-owned businesses. Oakland, I've been saying it and I'll continue to say it. Shame on you. Second, the administration in Oakland has changed the language in the mentor protege program just recently. And I'm going to be reporting on that extensively, and I'm sure you already heard about it. Instead of 25% mentor protege program on these multi-millions, tens of $1 million projects, they've changed it to only 5%. Oakland, I'm coming for you. You better wake up, because I'm coming for you. That is not right. We used to have 46% African American residents in Oakland. Now we're down to 21 or 22%, and that's because we can't afford to live in Oakland. That's because we can't get contracts.
Absolutely.
On yourself.
Economic justice connected to our stability.
Well, I want to say this last thing before we go to the next question. Okay. I'm not blaming the political process first, because it wasn't ratified by city council or the mayor's office. But let me be clear here. I'm going to be following up with city council and the mayor's office to shut that blatant outing of minority Black men and women owned businesses out of these multi-million-dollar mentor protege programs that they have. The Oakland administration, you ought to be shaming yourself. And I'm going to start naming names as we move forward. And I'll name a name in a minute.
People need to know who is the target, who's the problem.
I can't wait. I'm going to have a list, and I'm going to have where they live, what office they're in, and go get them. Allyssa, how is government maintaining the problem? Thank you.
So as I said, there's private contracts. It's really hard for us to control, how any private person or company interacts. But we're talking about governments. Governments are also referred to as municipal corporations. They're public corporations. They're public businesses, right? We're the shareholders who get to decide how we should be spending our money, and if we like the people who are in control of that, which are elected officials. But our government seems to, again, have been a part of the problem, have intentionally excluded Black contractors from even being able to bid on projects, consistently choosing non-Black contractors over Black contractors, again, creating even requirements where they know they're going to be excluding small and local businesses, minority-owned contractors. And our city, especially in Oakland, has done a lot of studies, and they've spent money to have people do studies on our contractor disparity. Our first study we put out was covering 2017 period. It was released in 2019. Then we did an updated study. And guess what? They're talking about doing another updated study. And we've even had our county who did a study way before then, I think around 2003. All of them confirmed the same things that we know, the same things that we hear, the same things that we see, that racism is the status quo, that there is systemic inequity that is always placing Black businesses and people at the bottom. And there are specific remedies that our government can be enacting, but a lot of times they, instead of acting, will just go about studying and say, well, that's the action. We're deeply listening and documenting it, and that data just really kind of adds insult to injury, right? We know it, we feel the pain. Putting those numbers, those deep numbers, all those billions of dollars and how little is coming to our community may help other folks. It doesn't really help me to put that into action. And so we're still missing a lot of actionable plans. We're still missing a lot of political will to do something about it, right? How can you document so much harm, so much exclusion, so much exploitation, even at times, to a community and still feel like there is no plan besides let's just keep updating all the harm. Let's just keep studying it. Let's just keep studying it while it's happening, right? The government is still not shifting the status quo to what are we doing to stop the harm and what are we doing to repair it, right? Our city just ran a ballot measure about progressive business tax, right? So progressive, we need to change the way we tax businesses, and we need to relieve some of our small and lower income businesses. Those things could have built in reparations framework. They could have built in the understanding about equity from a Black business standpoint and what those taxations and other fees that our city is imposing is doing to create barriers, to even have businesses that have to shut down because of the costs. We aren't thinking that creatively, and so it's not happening. Again, contracts are, there's definitely restrictions on government contracts from the law, but contracts still, many of them are voluntarily. No one's forcing the city to have to open up contracts. No one's forcing them to choose any certain person. A lot of them is their choice. And how is their choice still being guided by racism, by white supremacy? How are they going to make different choices? A lot of people don't know how to make different ones to undo racial injustice. Again, a lot of people have to be trained. We have a Department of Race and Equity in Oakland, though, that was created out of some of these reports that said, well, we don't have a problem. It's like, let's make a department. But they still haven't really staffed that department. They haven't resourced the department. The department doesn't even do these studies. They go pay a private firm to go and do these studies and get the data for them. So again, there's still a missing link of kind of the political will and understanding. I can use my power as a government to contract to require that they have Black workers, that they hire other Black contractors as their partners to develop this, that they engage with Black communities, that they have things in multiple languages, that they have accessibility. There's so many things you can build into a contract if you're willing to. And I just want to give an example that there's been a lot of debate over this parcel. It's called the East 12th parcel because it's located on East 12th Street in Oakland, that's around the lake. And for years, it became taken over as a homeless encampment. Back in around 2015, our city opened up proposals and said, we want somebody to develop this area. There was proposals for 100% affordable housing and proposals for market housing. Our city chose the market rate housing proposal, but then that developer they chose didn't have the money for it. They gave them extensions, and after 6 years, they still didn't have any money to actually build anything, but they were just given this agreement to sit on. We're now back at square one.
Is that the Michael Johnson project, urban developers?
I don't want to misspeak of the specific developers. Right now, I know involves SAHA, Satellite Affordable Housing. And so we're kind of back to square one of, hey, we waited 6 years for this developer who gave us a proposal that we chose, but they didn't actually execute. And our city kept waiting. And now we're back to square one of, hey, can we get a proposal? And the developer they're talking with now has stated in council meetings and committee meetings that they will have 20% of Black joint venture, that they will reach out and are willing to work with other contractors, that they want to ensure that equity is a part of this project. And they're a private company separate from the city, but they're contracting with the city. So again, they can even build in even more than the city can around racial requirements, around economic justice requirements, around community engagement. Again, a lot of this is voluntary. Again, our corporations and businesses often don't want to do this. But if our city knows that we need it and that the city itself may be somewhat restricted, when we're giving out contracts to another business that does have more leeway to say we absolutely have to work with Black businesses and Black contractors, then our city can still build that into how we select who gets our contracts, who gets those dollars, and still how we hold them accountable. So that's something that I'm watching right now that's developing with this one particular piece of land. But it still goes to show that in any bidding, our city can choose, again, what type of proposals they like. They can choose to say, we only want to prioritize proposals that are going to talk about equity and Black contractor requirements, even if the city's not requiring them to do that. Again, we still don't have any city policies that really guide how we are addressing the issues that we've now studied multiple times over and over and over again. Every time we issue a city contract is an opportunity to change that, to start to build a new status quo, to start to shift that data and those disparities. And every time that it's not being done or even talked about, or even how can we even try? Are people even trying? Anytime that's not done, it is a disservice. And it's just going to continue to push out Black residents, Black workers, and Black business.
Let me say this before we ask the last question, because I know you have to leave around close to 5. Audience, that's what the Black Business Roundtable on blackusa.news network is all about. We fight for 3 things. We fight for Black businesses, Black political power, and we fight against racism in America. So having Victory's Corner here on the Black Business Roundtable, this great mind is giving a roadmap. And let me be clear, I want to applaud Lisa Victory of Victory's Corner for when she ran for mayor. She hit the ground going house to house, explaining to residents how to register to vote, registering to vote, explaining to Californians who have come out of the correctional institution, returning residents, how they have the right to vote. That's why she did so well with only $30,000 fighting people who had $300,000. She
Even
went
more
out.
than
They have more. But Allyssa, you went out and grassroots your way to the near top, and I applaud you for that. So as we close this out, to keep up with, what can government do to solve the problem?
Ooh, thank you for the plug. Again, I did run for mayor, and I was very clear on things I wanted to do to address the great disparities that we were seeing, not to keep studying them, but actions, and to center economic justice. It was the top 3 issues on my platform. But one of the things our government and any governments can do is have a strong public lands policy. Our city council had started discussing it and then just stopped. And I really encourage all of our new and current council to pick it back up, so that we don't have to argue and debate over every public vacant property, what we're going to do, how we should go about developing it or selling it. There should be a policy that covers all of our public lands that has basic principles of, we know we're in a housing crisis for the last 6 years. Maybe we need to prioritize any public land that is appropriate, environmentally able to be built into housing. Maybe we need all of our public lands to prioritize developers that have minority contractors in their proposal. Maybe we need to only prioritize having local workers build on public land projects. Those are all things that our city can propose, can negotiate. And we had started talking about a public lands policy years ago, and then we've just stopped. And we need to bring that back up and actually pass it, so that helps to direct us and guide us and sets out even more people-centered, public-focused policies and guidance on what we do with our land. how we're going to develop it, who should get those contracts and dollars to build on it and to work on it. I talked a lot about workers. We've even been discussing a project labor agreement, a citywide one. Usually they're specific to any project. But again, our city is considering a citywide project labor agreement with certain unions who build, our usual building and trades unions, people who build buildings, people who do sprinklers, carpets, painting, right? Every part of a structure that comes up. And part of that uh, process is our city said, hold up, y'all don't have enough Black workers in the building and trades unions. So we need to do a study, and we want to see if we can require these unions to recruit, to hire, to train Black workers before we agree to make sure that this unions and these workers get these types of jobs. So again, our city is already doing it in other places, of when groups that are not the city are asking us for contracts, for money, for business, we can say, hold up. We have interests as a city, and they are around equity. They're around equal opportunity. And we're going to study this. Again, we already have the studies around the business, but they're studying this like workers issue and trying to build that into a contract. So again, contracting is so much voluntariness. What is our city willing to do? Are they going to negotiate on our behalf? Are there Black people at the table negotiating on our behalf from the city side? And so even those things of who's in the room, right? Is our Department of Race and Equity reviewing these contracts before they're entered into, not after, not years after a program and all the money has been spent? So these are some really fundamental things our city can do and any government can do, right? Is to change the ways that they're thinking about their contracting power, to change who they have at the table negotiating those contracts, to ensure they have a really intentional equity analysis before they approve a contract, before they approve the money. And if they know that there are really specific demands of we want this percentage to be Black contractors or to be Black workers or to be affordable, then we can still build those things in as well. It's whether or not we have government that's willing to do it, whether we have lawyers who are working in our government who are creative with the law the ways that I am, and I have worked in our city attorney's office. So I encourage our legal counsel, right, to not just say, oh, there's a barrier and there's a law around race-based programs. Okay, we're talking about reparations statewide. So we still know there's been racial harm. There's been years of race-based exclusion. But now that we want to repair it, it's all of a sudden we can't touch race. But if you have Black lawyers and other Black folks that are working in that process, we will be more creative about it. We can find different language, different avenues to get to what we want. I again remind people we had a progressive business tax that could have incorporated some of these things already. We have a cannabis equity program that is specific to cannabis operators, a specific type of business, and one that Black folks were some of the first people in it. But now that it's been legalized, we've been shut out. And so we see pockets of this, but can we have a citywide ethic that approaches all of our contracting, not just cannabis, not just certain areas, but can we ensure that all of our contracting is equitable, has an equity program with it, is being led by our Department of Race and Equity? That is my vision for our city. That is what I believe is the model that we should be moving to, that all governments should be moving to if they're serious about repairing harm, but also stopping the equity going forward.
Well, Leah, you could go on and on and on, but we are going to wrap this up by saying you have Victory's Corner every other Thursday on the Black Business Roundtable. Audience, as we wrap this up, I want to just say Allyssa Victory has demonstrated she has grassroots power to get people who have not been a part of the process going door to door, showing people how to register, talking to returning residents on that they have the right to vote now, they serve their time. As we wrap it up, Allyssa Victory is a civil rights leader, educator, and licensed attorney serving across the Bay Area and the state of California. To keep up with Allyssa Victory Esquire, please visit her website via her website, Victory4, and that's FOR, Oakland.wordpress.com / Instagram at Victory4, and that's FOR, Oakland, hashtag Victory4, and that's FOR Oakland. Allyssa, I'll see you down in LA, and I got my dukes up waiting because we got 1% against 99% of Democrats down at the convention in LA, and I can take on at least 40% of them by myself. So I'm ready to knock them out with you.
I'll be
We love
behind
you,
you.
Allyssa.
Take them first.
Hey, I'll be like that. How does the football go? I'll be like that lineman. I'll be mowing them down, and you run it in for the touchdown.
Exactly. Touchdown for democracy, touchdown for justice, touchdown. Our whole assembly district is going to represent very strong. So excited to see you down there. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into Victory's Corner. I will be back in 2 weeks.
And just remember, Pamela Price was the first African-American, Madam Pamela Price was the first African-American woman to be the DA in Alameda County, in the history of Alameda County. She lost her first race. She regrouped and she came back and knocked it out the second time. And that is what I'm feel coming from you. Have a great day. We love you, girl. I'll see you for that cocktail down in LA at the JW Marriott in Los Angeles, California. See you then. Thank you, Allyssa.
Peace.
Audience, you heard it right here on the Black Business Roundtable. We are teaching and preaching to get people out to vote. You can't get elected unless we vote for you. So moving forward, we are a little behind time now, and we have our next special guest. My brother from Georgia is backstage. So let me get a quick shout out to our founder, the man who made this all possible. Thank you, Mr. Donnie Glover, blackusa.news. And be sure to tune in to Donnie Glover Show with Donnie Glover on Mondays, Chap and Friends on Mondays, Party Marty Let's Talk on Tuesdays, Black USA Crypto News with Kamal Hubbard on Fridays, as he knows all about blockchain and cryptocurrency. On Saturdays, the Blackout Live from New York with my sister Tajmir, and Sundays 60 Minutes in Black USA with Michael Haney. The Beverly Francis Show on Sundays with Beverly F. Smith. To join our Black Business Roundtable advertising family, or to be a possible guest on the show, reach us via our email, bbrt2021@hotmail.com. Include your company name, address, website, company phone number, and social media page info to our email address at bbrt2021@hotmail.com for vetting consideration. And I can see we have, you know what? Now this looks good. We got 3 handsome Black men on the stage of the Black Business Roundtable, ready to light it up. Gentlemen, I apologize for the delay, but this sister, Allyssa Victory, is bad. She had $30,000, and her front runners had close to $500,000, and she went out grassroots, got people registered to vote. She brought in a percentage of votes that have people who had never voted before. But to that end, let's welcome back my brother from another mother from Georgia, the state of Georgia, where Atlanta is. And I hear Atlanta is Chocolate City.
City.
Welcome back, brother Marcus Flowers of Georgia, and one of the founders of Mission Democracy, a new political machine with a bit of a different twist, which I can't wait to hear more about, especially since it brings folks from different parties together. I'd like to read his bio briefly. Army veteran, patriot, Democrat, Mr. Marcus Flowers has spent his entire career defending the United States of America. He served as an active duty member of the U.S. Army, followed by more than 20 years as a contractor or official for the State Department and Department of Defense. Wow. Marcus has spent a decade in combat zones around the world and has worked on 4 continents. Marcus' values, and I love this, Marcus' values are those of loyalty, duty, honor, respect, integrity, unity, courage, and fierce love of America and its constituents. Now, if we had more people like that in politics, we wouldn't have a divided country as we have today. And I also want to welcome back and co-hosting with me today my brother, who I met at a grocery store as he was running for mayor of Alameda, Mr. Barack Obama Shaw. Welcome back, gentlemen.
Pleasure.
I understand, Mr. Marcus Flowers, you are the man now.
Oh,
I understand Vice President Kamala Harris extended an invite to you on our previously scheduled date before the spring break. So thank you for making plans to return this month. Man, that must have been awesome.
it's always great going out to see the vice president, listen to her speak, listen to her address the issues. I'm sorry I couldn't make it that day. The invitation didn't come from her personally, but from her office. So, always got to take that opportunity to go listen to the vice president.
We here at the Black Business Roundtable, I applaud you for all your efforts to take on your latest endeavor to help recenter the ship that has gone so far off course, which is the leadership in the House and the Senate, and to the extremist views that are trying to overtake our democracy. Thank you for jumping into the gap between democracy and MAGA extremists. Mr. Barack B. Obama, can you fire off the first question? Because I'm telling you, I can't wait to hear the exciting things that are going on with this gentleman from Georgia. Thank you.
Yeah, so my first question is, how did you initially meet, as far as, with all of the different people in the different political backgrounds? How did you guys meet? Was it through your election campaign, or was it something else?
Well, partly through the election campaign. Olivia Troy and I, we actually go back quite a long way. It's probably around 2003, 2004. Our paths first crossed in Iraq, during the war there. We're both, actually all of us are, national security professionals. And that's where her and I paths first crossed. We reconnected back when I started running and, got reacquainted. And, I met the other co-founders of Mission Democracy during my election, as I would travel up to the Hill and speak with lawmakers and, try and get a lay of the land and figure out all the things that we needed to be doing in our campaign. So,
Outstanding.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, the other question is who is democracy now, and whom does it not include or encompass?
So, Mission Democracy, we're a grassroots organization who, and let me try and distill this down into a very, very small, digestible chunk. We're interested in eradicating those MAGA extremists, that extremist ideology that has an oversized representation in our House and in our Senate, to be quite frank with you. We're going after the worst of the worst members. We're trying to soften that ground up a little bit for, common sense, decent candidates who really want to focus on the issues and help their constituents. I mean, we talk about the Green Team that consists of Marjorie Taylor Greene, Jim Jordan, Matt Gaetz, Lauren Boebert, Paul Gosar, Scott Perry. these are the worst of the worst. Those Freedom Caucus members who aren't there to serve their communities. They're there for power. They're there to sow chaos and not get anything done. I mean, that's who Mission Democracy really is. And we're going to go after them, whether it's IE, whether it's helping, people who are deciding to run against those worst of the worst members, like I did against Marjorie Taylor Greene. We want to help them in their districts get organized, with different county committees. Now, we're not going to coordinate with any campaigns, but we're going to get down at the ground level, meet people where they are, and trying to eradicate MAGA, first and foremost.
Got it. Awesome. Yeah, folks, go ahead.
Let me this, Marcus. I can only imagine this. What was the first brainstorming session like to flush out this new venture? Thank you, sir.
I mean, that first brainstorming session, it was, when you're among friends and we all, again, all national security professionals, we understand the dangers of radicalization, misinformation, disinformation, extremism. We've fought against this our entire careers. So, it was a great talk among friends and, talking about, what needs to be done at the grassroots level, and taking some of those lessons that I learned in my campaign and applying them to a PAC, trying to scale that up nationwide. And, really, it was a great session, to be honest with you, that first session, that exchange of ideas and, things that we should be really focusing on. And we need to be focusing on getting organized throughout the country in all of these districts where we have extreme MAGA Republicans who are representing or not representing the people of their districts, and how do we get them out of office? I know there's not much we can do about gerrymandering, but we're still going to have those fights, because guess what? Those guys aren't sleeping, and they're spreading that dangerous ideology all over the country. We have got to push back, and that's what Mission Democracy is here to do.
Well, let me tell you something. If you got the vice president of the United States calling you in, or someone in her office, obviously you have ruffled some feathers on the other side and positioned yourself as a man to be reckoned with moving forward. So on that note, let me ask you this. Who is Mission Democracy, and whom does it not include or encompass? Thank you, sir.
Mission Democracy is me. It's you. It's those Americans who don't want to see us lose our country and be divided by these silly cultural wars that only serve to divide Americans, one from each other. It's all of us. And that's the majority of Americans truly want to see our government do something. But we can't even have real substantive conversations about the issues that we face as Americans because we have people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Paul Gosar, and Lauren Boebert, who have these outsized megaphones who are just sowing chaos in Congress. I mean, if you look right now, we're at a moment where we're thinking about defaulting on our national debt, not paying our bills because of these extreme MAGA Republicans in Congress. Think about that for a moment. We're about to lose our AAA credit rating by defaulting on our debt, something that's never happened before, because we can't have serious conversations about how to move forward or pay our bills as a country. That's where we are now.
Let me ask one. Do you mind, Barack, that I have a question we overlook. The Mission Democracy team members consist of Olivia Choi, founder and COO, former White House National Security Official and Career Intelligence Officer. Denver Riggleman, and did I say that correctly? Riggleman?
Correct.
Denver Riggleman, founder and member of the board, former Republican USA representative for Virginia's 5th Congressional District, and last but definitely not least, Matthew Littman, founder and executive director. How did the co-founders come together to form Mission Democracy, coming from different political and diverse backgrounds? And how did you meet each member initially? Was it through your election campaign from 2022? Thank you, sir.
Well, again, as I said before, some of it was from that. But Olivia and I go back, a couple of decades. Again, we met in Iraq back in 2003 or 2004 while we were both serving the country overseas during the war in Iraq. But the fact that we all come from different political backgrounds, here's something that I believe to be true, and we're going to lead by example on this. We agree on the majority of things, but the one thing that I think we can all agree on, all Americans, is that our democracy and preserving our democracy is the most important mission that we have as Americans right now. When we have forces who, are praising Vladimir Putin while he's trying to destroy a democracy in Ukraine, there's a problem. I truly believe that we're at a crossroads in this country where we've got to choose to, not give in to those dangerous reactionaries who want to drag the United States into authoritarianism. I think that's where we are. And even though, we have a former Republican congressman who was a member of the Freedom Caucus, who left the Freedom Caucus because he truly saw how radicalized these members of Congress had become. And he was ostracized by the party and went on to do great work for the January 6th committee. And I urge you all to read Denver Riggleman's book, The Breach, where he talks about the untold story behind investigating the January 6th. He played a pivotal role in that. Again, we all agree on really what's important. Whether we agree on all policy issues or not, that's not what's important. What's important is saving our democracy and getting those fascist wannabes out of our government.
I see on your website something that really hits home. The words fascism is no longer a foreign threat. Break this down for our audience to wrap their heads around and the seriousness facing each and every American as we are, as you said, the crossroads in our American history. Just as the song Crossroads by Bone Thugs and Harmony expresses, what is the danger to America and examples? Thank you.
I think when a lot of people think of fascism, they think of Hitler, they think of Mussolini, Hirohito. But here's one thing that people need to remember. They came into power by being elected. They were first elected. You want to look at Donald Trump, how he fancies being a strong man. There is a chance that he can be elected again, and he will be completely untethered this time with all kinds of grievances that, scores that he wants to settle from, what he calls a rigged election. That big lie that they all propagate, that the election was somehow stolen by Biden. All of those fascists were elected to power. We're going to highlight that to people and go down into the districts and meet people where they are and educate them on the dangers of fascism. And I say I never thought I would see that here. Someone that served in Afghanistan and in Iraq and in the Balkans, Kosovo, Macedonia, and Bosnia. Never thought I would see it here at home. But now we're seeing that. We're seeing those same elements in election after election where people like Marjorie Taylor Greene are reelected. Paul Gosar goes unopposed. Greene went unopposed their first time. These people have a fascist bent, and they've been elected into power. We've got to educate people about the dangers of extremism, radicalization, disinformation that they're propagating all over the place, and the dangers of fascism. And I know that's one of those powerful words that turn some people off, but that's what we're facing now.
Barack, can you fire off the next question, please?
Well, I have a question around the with the extremism. What do you see, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, people are following her? What do you see that's the attraction? Like what's pulling people to her, and what is that attraction, and what are you going to do to attract people to what you're saying? Because I would say that something is some kind of way they're turning heads some kind of way. Like, what do you see about that?
We've got to get down in those communities and have those tough conversations, those hard conversations that, I had in my campaign. While we didn't get the outcome that we wanted, that's how democracy works. We gave people a choice, but we did move the needle. And I can tell you this, it helped in our Senate race, getting Senator Obama, he was a senator, Senator Warnock reelected here in Georgia.
Right.
They're saving the Senate, I feel. So, that work was great work, and it's important to do. But we got to have those tough conversations with people. We've got to educate. And one of the things that I heard out on the campaign trail, and I didn't just talk to Democrats, I talked to independents and Republicans alike. And I'd hear from some of the Republicans is, she says what's on her mind. She fights for what she believes in. And, those are the things she say. Well, I say what's on my mind too, and I fight for what I believe in as well. But I believe in this democracy. That's the biggest thing. That's what was on the ballot. That's what's still on the ballot in this election, democracy. And if we can't agree on that much, then I think everything else, all of the other issues that we fight over, they won't matter, because we won't have a democracy where our voices are being heard anymore. We'll have those who are in power who are dictating to us and not fighting for us.
So is this going to be? Oh, you go ahead.
No, please finish your thought.
Yeah.
Please.
So having those tough conversations, are these tough conversations going to be? You have like you're going to have rallies where you're inviting hundreds of thousands of people? Is it going to be door to door? Is it going to be, for you to have those kinds of tough conversations? What type of forums are you going to create for this?
Well, I'd love to get to rallies, but I think it's going to start off with town halls, newsletters, op-eds, i.e., getting down to that county level, talking to people, helping those county parties organize and get the word out to people. It has to be a grassroots movement. I mean, again, I take my district that I ran in against Marjorie Taylor Greene, for example. We got more votes than any Democrat in the history of this district ever did. And that's by getting out and knocking on 70,000 doors, talking to people, doing micro town halls, going into living rooms, getting people to come together and have just a conversation. We're going to employ some of those same tactics with Mission Democracy. Now, again, it's a PAC, and we're trying to raise money to be able to get to our mission and educate and reach as many people as possible. But it's work that has to be done. It'll help soften up the ground for candidates who do run in those districts that are difficult.
Let me ask you this. Tell us about the Green Team starting lineup on the Mission Democracy website which mentions that it is not just perjury Marjorie Taylor Greene, and a list several members, including Jim Jordan, deputy fascist, second in command, U.S. representative in Ohio, District 4, Lauren Bachberg, definitely not the coldest beer in the refrigerator, U.S. representative, Colorado, District 3, Matt Gaetz, apparently a big fan of Venmo. Enough said. U.S. Representative, Florida, District 1, and several more. How damaging and disrespectful have they been to our democracy by their loss of decorum and respect? And who are the worst of the worst and why? Thank you.
Well, again, we list them right there on the website. Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's not really just the avatar of the Green Team or of the Freedom Caucus or of MAGA. I really feel that she's kind of running things right now. Kevin McCarthy is, let's just say it plainly, he's a speaker in name only. He's a spy now. Speaker in name only. She's pulling the strings there right now because she has an outsized voice. She has power. I mean, McCarthy can have any member of his caucus bring a vote to the floor to have him remove the speaker. How is he doing this job when that can happen? He had to pull so many strings and cut so many deals that he literally has no power in that caucus right now. Which is why we call him speaker in name only. Those MAGA Republicans that we list on the website are the worst of the worst. And that's where we're starting. We're starting with them. And we're starting in their districts.
Barack, please fire up the next question.
Okay, so we're seeing some of the challenges, but what challenges do you see that have been presenting themselves to the Mission Democracy team, and what have you done to resolve it?
Well, right now, I mean, as we're a startup organization, getting the word out is probably going to be the most difficult thing that we're doing, but we're working to, reach out to news outlets, guys like yourself, to just get the word out to as many people as possible. I mean, we've gone on Joy Reid's show to help get the word out there. We're writing op-eds all over the country. We're just getting the word out, trying to bring in funds so that we can fund our mission and help those candidates who are going after those MAGA members, the worst of the worst. Those are some of the challenges that we face right now, but we're coming along quite well, actually. So we're just going to keep on moving along, and hopefully as we get closer to election day and deeper into the cycle, we'll be at full steam.
Let me ask you something. What is the mission of the Mission Democracy? When the website first appeared, I remember something that stuck, which was not doing things often, was the case in the past from the top down races. This time it was from the bottom up races, finding those MAGA members like your previous opponent and ran unopposed and slipped quietly into seats that should have been opposed. Can you expand on the three areas, which are education, fund and support, and target for our audience so they can better understand the strategy to win and remove mega extremists? And I want to say, I don't know if you know a lot about California politics, but I was introduced by civil rights attorney Pamela Price. who lost her first race against the DA, a white Caucasian woman, but she did like you're doing now. She regrouped and came back and beat the outgoing DA's person who she wanted to run. So that's why I'm asking this. People who are running for office all around this country need to know you lose, you won because you know what you need to win. So can you expand on that? Thank you.
Well, to just touch on that piece itself about how important those down ballot races are. And they're really important, whether we're talking about running for the state house or state senate, those statewide races, or running at the federal level for Congress. That helps. I mean, take for instance, let's just look here at Georgia. Had I not been someone who challenged Marjorie Taylor Greene, had she gone unopposed once again, imagine how detrimental that would have been up ballot for our senator. Could have been detrimental. He could have lost that race. So what we know is you can move the needle. Now, we moved the needle by 10% in our district. That's a lot in a deeply red district. But even if you move the needle 1.5% in your district, if you're running for Congress, think about what that means up ballot in a presidential election year. Every vote counts. Every vote counts.
Can you say that about 3 more times? Because I'm out here in California and I hear so many young people who will not get out to vote. They'll go to a concert and spend $500, but they will not go to the ballot. Can you say that again? Every vote.
Every single vote counts. It does make a difference. And again, if you lose, you did the job. You gave people a choice. Democracy demands competition. That is how we get competent elected leaders. One of the things we always said, back in my days serving in the military and, serving in our government and DOD, is government is serious business for serious people. Right now, we have a bunch of unserious people in our government who are pulling the levers of power, who are making decisions or not making decisions. We're causing chaos so that good policy can't be enacted. And it's affecting all of us. All of us. Congress belongs to everybody. The Senate belongs to everybody. The presidency belongs to everybody. We got to make our voices heard. As far as our mission,
there's a great
to educate, target, and to fund. We've got to reach down into the districts and meet people where they are. I mean, in the world we live in today, people live in news echo chambers, whether it's Fox News, CNN, or whatever. And we got to break through that and reach people. And sometimes it takes going indoors, making phone calls, sending emails, meeting people where they are, having town halls in their communities, talking about the issues. We've got to do that. And that's something that we're going to do. We're not just going to put out viral videos and things like that. We're going to actually get out and talk to people, run ads in their district, help get those extremists out of our government. The work has to be done. And it's a continuation, really, of what I did as a candidate running against Marjorie Taylor Greene.
So many Americans just keep saying this can't be happening, even though they are seeing extreme political characters in power every day in both the news and fake news outlets. These political figures daily, such as those kicking out the Tennessee 2, and others like Representative Gozer, Representative Scott Perry, and Governor Ron DeSantis, and he's going to be running for president. That ought to be
He's already announced. So
Yeah. So are you showing all of us who they really are so we should believe them? And how has your standing in the world diminished? Or excuse me, how has our standing in the world diminished since MAGA became the alternate reality that seems to be trying to overtake democracy? What happens? What happens if the fascist candidates continue to gain power? Thank you.
Well, let me take that last part first. You know, our standing in the world has been diminished in both large and small ways. I think, and the large ways, you know, our allies, you know, they question our commitment to freedom and democracy. You know, when Joe Biden was elected, you know, he talked about, you know, America being back. We're back. We're back from the brink. And our allies are probably saying to themselves, well, for how long? How long are you back for? How long can we trust that this is the America that we're used to working with and being with? And in, you know, in the small ways, you know, I'll take it back to, you know, when I was a young soldier, probably 25, about 25 years ago, you know, walking around the streets of Europe, people would approach me because they knew I was an American and they want to have conversations with me and, you know, speak English and, you know, be happy and proud to meet an American. You know, that was how we were seen abroad, you know, as representatives of our country, as soldiers. It's not so much about that way anymore. They want to talk about pop culture and things like that, our movies, our music, our food. Now they want to talk about politics and how negative things are in America and how divided we are. That's a really small way and an important. I know it seems like something that's trivial, but it's an important thing to realize about how we are seen abroad nowadays versus just 25 years ago when I was a young man, so to speak. But it's really having a huge impact on our country, on how, you know, our allies and others view us. And it's giving people like Putin, it's emboldening them to see how divided we are. Because you just look at what he did in Ukraine and, you know, look at Erdogan in Turkey. And we've got to be keeping an eye on China, how emboldened they're going to be now, especially when we're looking at Taiwan. So, you know, that's our reputation's been hurt by how divided we are, how bitterly partisan our politics have become. We've got to turn that around.
Why is Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I can say this, audience, why is perjury Marjorie Taylor Greene so important to Kevin McCarthy, Speaker of the House?
I think I addressed it earlier. She literally is the figurehead for the Freedom Caucus. Those extremists of the party. You know, she's got Trump's ear, and McCarthy again. He's speaker in name only. He can't do anything without gaining consensus, and he has to take a hard right to satisfy those who have a fascist bent, I think. And again, she's the worst of the worst.
Well, the reason why I keep bringing that perjury Taylor Greene name up is because it is so critical. And, you know, we're Black and I'm Black, so I can say this without sounding racist. Our people do not know enough about politics. Some of our people don't know who their city council people are, the mayor is, assembly people, county board of supervisors. They don't even know that the school elected officials are. So this show has, once again, three objectives: Black political power, Black businesses, and fighting racism. And to that end, my next question to you, sir, before I turn it over to Mr. Obama, I don't want to steal the show away, but You are a wealth of information, and the things that you are doing down there in Georgia, now expanding it across to America, and meeting with Vice President, first Black woman to be a vice president, sitting next to the Oval Office. Maybe she'll be sitting in the Oval Office. But to that end, tell us what the goal of this new group is, focused on accomplishing in presidential races already heating up. Thank you.
As far as the presidential race goes, we're focused on those House and Senate races down ballot. That will affect up ballot. We're going to, again, soften up those targets like the Marjorie Taylor Greens, the Paul Gosars, get down, educate, fund and support, and target those guys who are running against the worst of the worst. That helps up and down the ballot. That helps statewide, at the local level. I mean, you talked about how important it is for city council members, for commissioners, county commissioners, at the state representatives, state senators. All of that is important, and we've got to get people engaged and understand. We do have a lot of low information voters, and some people that don't vote because they don't have the information, are armed with the information. It is power. So we've got to get out there and educate. And we've got to get people to the polls, but we've got to get people to run as well. We've got to get people to get involved. Civics education in this country is something that's, I think personally, has been lacking in recent years. But that doesn't mean the work's not important and we shouldn't be trying to do it. So,
Mr. Obama, please.
So it would appear that the both parties you have a common goal here, right? You'll hear about Trump, supported this person. Yeah, Trump's behind me. Or this person is supported by someone else. So do you think the new candidates would be open to both parties, like really supporting certain people, whether, depending on, long as they have a democracy mindset, to kind of like sign off, like, will they be open to that type of situation? Because if the way it stands, whether you're Republican or Democrat, it's not with this wedge here. It's not going to help. So do you think they'll be open to, both parties helping or contributing so they can win?
That is my hope. That is my hope. I mean, again, I think as a country, we agree on more things than we disagree on. I think we're starting to see now that we all agree that, women should have the right to choose what to do with their bodies. I think the majority of us agree that we've got to do something about gun violence. I think the majority of us are tired of seeing children slaughtered at school. It's about common sense things that we can all get behind. These aren't political issues, even though they've been turned into political footballs. These are things that most Americans agree on, regardless. Mm-hmm. So I think there's definitely a lane there. And again, we're a bipartisan group of Democrats, Republicans, and independents who want to focus on our democracy, because that's what's at stake. And I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, I think a candidate would find it attractive if you got both parties supporting them, because I think that it can kind of be a niche, let me be with this one particular person, one particular situation, And even though they may not agree with everything, but they're doing whatever they can do to win. But if they have both parties supporting them, I mean, they can actually, keep their conscience and their ethics, what have you, and win. So I just, yeah,
I don't disagree at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, because it's in some cases, well, you'll see politicians running. It's like, well, he didn't mention such and such's name, but he hinted. He didn't say that her name either, but he hinted. So the people are kind of like that. They're like, I'm not going to say that person's name at all. But if you have both parties behind you, you can I think you'd have a little bit more courage to say what you're going to say instead of being shy about what it is that you're passionate about. So that might be, I don't know, there might be some talking points for having more people to rally with what you're doing.
Perhaps. Well, I mean, we're reaching out to common sense people who want to see us live up to our highest ideals, see this country better. I mean, out on the campaign trail, I heard day after day people talking about how divided we are as a country, and they wanted that to end. That's what the people on both sides of the aisle, they wanted that to end. They wanted to see us come together as a country. I mean, that's in large part why Biden won by such a large margin. People are tired of the division. People want to see things getting done. People want to see us do something about gun violence. People want to see us come up with common sense solutions for our housing issues, for our infrastructure issues, for the things that people care about, those kitchen table issues that they care about. But nothing's getting done when you have such a divided House and those extremists, the worst of the worst, who only want to sow chaos and division, who don't want to get anything done. They're all about seizing power.
Well, now that we know we have an organization like yours, I want to, and I'm closing it out. What can we, the people, do right now to help the mission democracy efforts to change the leadership of the United States for the better of all Americans? Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you once again for having me. And look, people, go to www.missiondemocracy.org. Read over our website and see what it is that we're all about. Sign up for our news letter that's going to be coming out soon. And if you can, throw a few dollars our way so that we can help those candidates running against the worst of the worst. Help spread the word. That's it. Thank you.
There was a question that Donnie Glover asked, and I wanted to he put down here, you were a money-making machine. Right? So I'm sure that this audience, after listening to you today, will donate, call, support, help grassroots this mission democracy, not just in your state, but all across this country.
Every state in the union. We've got to do it. We've got to go up this worst of the worst.
In closing, audience, to be sure to keep up with Mr. Marcus Flowers, founding member and Mission Democracy, and all the members of the team: Olivia Troy, Denver Riggleman, Matthew Littman, founder and executive director. Their website is missiondemocracy.org/team. Instagram, Miss N, capital N, Democracy, hashtag Miss, capital N, Democracy. Contact them at info@missiondemocracy.org. Media inquiries, media@missiondemocracy.org. 600 Pennsylvania Avenue, SE Southeast, number 15180, Washington, D.C. 20003 is their zip code. We have enjoyed you today, sir. We hope that you come back. And when my producer said, well, he's not going to make it, he's with the vice president, I said, well, that's like a pass from the principal.
Appreciate you guys letting me slide on that one.
It's been a pleasure. Yeah. We're gonna see you next time. Thank you for coming on today. We truly enjoyed it.
Always a pleasure, Barack. Great meeting you. Thank you guys for having me once again. Anytime. Love to come back.
Well, I'm gonna call us the Black Graybeard Squad.
There you go. Hey, little salt and pepper never hurt anything.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna say this in closing. Our young people in America need to see men and women like us on the stage, keeping it real.
Absolutely.
Have a great day. We look forward to having you come back. Thank you, sir.
God bless. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Mr. Barack D. Obama, thank you for co-hosting the day. We're running short of time. I want to say it's a pleasure seeing you. I'm glad that you took the time out to come on and co-host. So once again, I work with Pamela Price, who came in, who lost her first election and won her second election. And the strategies that we're doing on this show are the strategies that I've seen her win. Name recognition. Keep throwing, it's like fishing. You keep throwing that worm out, you're going to catch a fish.
Yeah.
So we look forward to having you back on the show. Thank you for helping me out today. We'll see you next time, my brother. Stay strong.
Next time.
And keep hitting the ground. I'm down in LA. I'm gonna be mentioning your name quite a bit. You know that.
Yes, the outstanding.
Outstanding. Next one, you're gonna have to be there. We'll see you soon.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All righty. Have a good one.
Audience, as we wrap it up today, I want to say thank you for joining us. And we look forward to having you back next Thursday. I am amazed at our lineup today. Allyssa Victory Esquire, Mr. Marcus Flowers, and Barack D. Obama. These are the types of leaders that we need in political offices today. Who are you following on Instagram? Follow a few of those we follow. At Barack Denzel, at Urban Cowgirl 510, Millennium Democrat, at the Mass Law Student, at Shane 4, and that's at 4R Oakland, at Pride Force, at Black Farmland Owners Matters, at Arc Republic, at Justice for Pushan Brown, at 100,000 Trees, at Chris Kelly, at Rex Pickett. To Mr. Donnie Glover, Black USA, we thank you. We thank you for your continued support and mentorship in this space. And audience, be sure to tune into Chapman Friends on Mondays, Titillating Tuesdays with Stacey Dennis, Party Marty, Let's Talk on Tuesday, Black USA Crypto News with Kamal Hubbard on Fridays, as he knows all about blockchain and cryptocurrency. On Saturdays, the Blackout Live with my sister from New York, Kashmir. On Sundays, 60 Minutes in Black USA with Michael Haney. If you want to be in the know and reach our audience, then join our BBRT advertising family and be a possible guest on the show. Reach us via our email, BBRT. Include your company name, address, website, company phone number, and social media page info to our email address, bbrt@hotmail.com for vetting consideration. So, check out our other network shows hosted by the man, the apologetically bold newsman, Mr. Donnie Glover, such as BlackUSA.News, Morning Show with Donnie Glover Show, The Morning Show with Donnie Glover Show, People over politics. Data Mall says community connections, resources and gardening, the Robert Report, shared spaces, frontline news, Troy Rawlings show, the Beverly Smith show, and stay tuned as QSA is always looking for great podcast hosts that give audience new perspective. Please listen to the backstory of Carlton as listed below and continue to share the hashtag Stand With Carlton. Also, share the hashtag Driving While Black, Michael Thrash Taylor County TX. Also, if you love animals, support the social media Instagram at Justice for Enzo or online at Justice for Enzo and Chris Kelly Foundation, the dog tased to death by Lodi Police in Lodi, California. As pets are being killed nationally at alarming rates by law enforcement, support hashtag Enzo Law for All Pets nationally. Planned protest May 27th, 12:30 p.m. Meet at the Arc in Lodi, California on the West Pine Street and Sacramento Street. Hashtag boycott Lodi wine. Thank you, audience, for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific time on the BlackUSA.News network on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you, audience, for tuning in. And remember, together, we can listen, we can learn, and we can share because I know you care. This is Doug Blacksher and Dr. Ashley Coleman, Doctor of Psychology, returning soon of the Black Business Roundtable. God bless. Thank you for joining us tonight. See you next week.